everyone, and welcome to February. Have you been keeping up with all of the quilts that we've been doing? So far we have done layer cakes, we've done fat quarters, and we've done jelly rolls, and we've done charm square packs. Today we are going to talk about how to use up that extra yardage that you have. It may be yardage that you buy and now you're thinking, what can I do with this? It's ugly, I hate it. Or you might be thinking, okay, this is beautiful, but I want to cut it up so that I can see the big motifs on the picture, on the fabric. So that's what we're going to do today. We are going to turn bolts of fabric into 60-degree triangles. Triangles are not hard, and they're going to be something that you can do with everything that you probably already own. Remember, this is not anything that you need to go out and buy something special for. We're using everything from our stash. We're using tools that we currently have. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is take our bolt of fabric, and I just have one out here for demonstration purposes, but I think I've used probably 8 in the quilt that I'm going to show you. And you're going to cut a strip. And you're going to cut this strip whatever width you want. And here's how I determine my strips. My strips on the one I actually did were 5 1/4. And I picked 5 1/4 because I used a 6-inch ruler. Okay, in the 6-inch ruler, the biggest strip I could get was 5 1/4 to get my correct 60 degrees. However, if you use your 24-inch ruler, you can cut any size strip you want. Okay, also, there are specialty rulers out there. These happen to be 60-degree triangle rulers from Mashup. One is 2 to 6 inches, so you can cut a strip anywhere between 2 and 6 inches. It helps if you do 2 or 2 1/2 or whatever width you want, but do it at the full number or the half number. Same thing with the bigger one. This goes from a 3-inch strip to a 9-inch strip. So you've got a big range if you want to get specialty rulers, or if you have them and not sure how to use them. I'm not using my specialty rulers on this. Like I said, I'm using my 6-inch OmniGrid square on mine that I'm going to demonstrate. It has the 60-degree angle right here, and that's all we're going to use is the 60-degree angle. If you don't have a 6-inch OmniGrid square, you can also use your OmniGrid, and I'm just saying OmniGrid because that's what I have. Use whatever rulers you have. I'm using my 24 by 6 on this one because this one also has a 60-degree angle. You can use whatever size strip you want on this one. You can cut 1/4 inches instead of halves and wholes. With my small ruler, I had to cut 5 1/4, so that's what I did with my ruler. However, I'm going to go ahead and cut 6 on here for demonstration purposes. I could even cut it out at 6 1/2 if I chose. Remember to square up the edge of your fabric. I've just recently used this one, so I know that the edge is already square. So I took it out to 6 1/2. Set that aside, we no longer need that. Here is our new strip. So we're going to take this strip, and I'll show you how to do it on the big ruler, and then I'm going to show you how to do it on the square ruler. You're going to take the edge of your fabric, and I hope you all can see this. You can leave the selvages on it, and that's my thicker selvage over here, so I don't want to cut the white, so I'm going to leave it there. And you're going to take your 60-degree line that's on your ruler, and you're going to line it up with the bottom of your strip. Doesn't matter where it's lined up. I have it lined up close enough so that I'm going to be just inside my selvage so I can keep going. And you're going to make that initial cut. This is scrap. Nothing you can do about it. You're cutting triangles, you're going to have scrap. You can save this and maybe cut a 2 by 2 square out of here for something else later. I'm not. Okay, so we've cut this 60-degree angle right here. You're going to take your ruler, turn it the other way, and use the other 60-degree line that goes the other direction, and you're going to line that up right on the point of the triangle. So your 60-degree line and your cut side are going to go right on the point of that triangle, or that line that you just cut. This is going to be the size of your triangle. Remember how I like to cut backwards? Yep, that's me. I have this doubled because it was one cut. So now I have two 60-degree triangles. So if you keep going, you leave it on the same cut, you just flip it back over to the other 60-degree line, line it up with the point that's up there, and keep your line on the edge of your fabric. Remember, we discussed that last month. Just keep it on the edge of your fabric, line it up, and cut. Now if you're using the 5 1/4 inch width to use your 6-inch square, you're going to get more triangles out of this than I'm going to on a 6 1/2 inch strip. And since I haven't done 6 1/2 inch strips, I'm going to finish cutting this out to show you how many you can get. So far we've got 4. This is 6. And if you happen to have your ruler move a tiny bit, or you don't have it lined up exactly on that point, you know, this is another one of those no frets, okay? No quilt police here. Do the best of your ability. And somebody needs to change the blade in this cutter. Okay, so now we're down to 2, 4, 6, because these are doubled, 8, and I can probably get only one more out, but I'm going to check and see. Turn it the other direction. Yeah, I'm only going to be able to get one more out. I'm not going to be able to double this because when it's lined up with my point, I'm over here and I'm off fabric. So to just do that, we open it up, put that same 60-degree line on it as a single layer, line it up at the same point, and there's your last triangle. This is extra. Pretty little parallelogram there. So you can save it and add it into something else. You can cut it up smaller, but this is a fairly good sized piece of fabric. It's 6 1/2 inches by, what is it? That's about 5 1/2 inches. So we'll go ahead and keep that. So now we've got 9. So out of a 6 1/2 inch wide strip, you can get 9 triangles. Now we're going to cut my 5 1/4, and I'm just going to do a couple of these to show you. Okay, the 5 1/4, I'm going to go ahead and use the 6-inch square omni-grid that I have. It also has the 60-degree line on here. Okay, here we go. Again, I'm going to line, and I've got 4 thicknesses here. I have 2 strips that I cut because when I cut mine, because I wanted to use up this ugly fabric that, at least I think it's ugly, I wanted to use up as much as possible. So I cut 2 strips of each one, and that gave me 13, they gave me 26 per fabric. Okay, this one's going to be a little trickier because it's just to the edge, and I'm using the wrong one. If you know if it doesn't line up, if it doesn't hit that corner. Okay, so my 60-degree line is right on the edge of my fabric down here, and I'm going to cut up towards my selvage. Again, a little bit of waste. It is what it is. We turn the ruler so that the 60-degree line the other direction. Again, the line is on the fabric. The point of your ruler, of this specific ruler, is going to be right here at the edge of my fabric, because I cut these strips just to use this specific ruler. And there's a little tiny bit here at the edge that isn't quite where the ruler is. I just take it, back it up a little bit to cut that, and then keep going. It's not that big of a deal. It's not going to be anything you're going to have to worry about. So now I have I have 4 triangles. So let me cut one more. Again, line your 60-degree line up on the bottom, closest to you. Line your straight edge up that you're going to cut with the point at the top of the fabric where you made the first cut. And you're going to cut that angle. There you go, there's 4 more. You can easily go through this just flipping your ruler back and forth, and you'll get 13 of these. You'll have to open it up at the end just like you did the other one. Not a big deal. So now that we have these triangles, and I'm going to bring in some of these other triangles that I already have cut, what can we do with them? Well, this is the fun part. We have, now you want to make sure that you start with whatever color you start with at the top. You've got to start with that row with the flat side up. Can't start with points. You have to start with the flat side up. But you're going to start up there, and then you're going to fill the next one in. And you're just going to keep alternating with your different colors. And I'll show you how this looks laid out. I've got 8 rows laid out already for you to see, and then I'll show you how to sew them. This is going to make a fairly large quilt at this size, 13 blocks, and it goes completely across my my design wall, and it's even a little too big for my design wall. I don't have all 13 up, but this is going to be given away because I don't ever want to see these fabrics. And that's what it's going to look like. Okay, and then that's 2 rows. So that's 13 of this one and 13 of this one, at least for my size. If you're doing the bigger sizes, and I only cut one color of these, you're going to have, and I'm just going to put these both together here so I hope you can see the difference. But you're going to have less blocks to work with, or less triangles to work with, and you're going to have a bigger viewing area for maybe that beautiful fabric that you want to use and not sure how to do it, but you wanted something unique. And this is what you'll do. You're just going to have, if you use a bigger strip, you're going to have bigger triangles than I do. I wanted to use up more fabric. I made smaller triangles and lots of different rows. Okay, to start the second row, you're going to alternate. Now, if this is another color, you could just put another color in here. But you line up your bottom to your bottom, and then you're going to come in and point to point. And then you're going to line your straight edge up to your straight edge. Bring some more of these in. And it's just going to keep alternating. You can do this with as many fabrics as you want. You can do this with just 2 fabrics. It will look beautiful either way because it's your quilt and you're making it however you want. Oops, that's not right. There we go. Now when you get this all put together, your edges are going to be a little wonky. Okay, all you're going to do when you get to that point is you're just going to cut them off. So you're going to have half triangles here. And you'll have the same thing over here. You'll take this out, you'll bring it back to the inside point, and you're going to cut. And this one will probably be an outside point. You're going to cut. You're just going to square it up. Yes, you're going to have a little bit of scrap. Okay, so let's go over to the design wall, and I'll show you the 8 rows that I have together. Well, I have laid out together. And then we'll go to the sewing machine, and I'll show you how to piece these. Okay, here we are at my design wall. As you can see, I have them in there. I've got 8 different rows, and they're all nested in there nicely. And I'm going to keep using up my fabric. See how on the edge there that they're not even? And that's the way they're going to be. I will just cut that off at the point of where you see the white, which is my design wall, and I'm just going to cut it off straight down there, and that will be where, if I decide to put a border on it, I'll put the border on it. And it is the same thing on the other side, but that's what it's going to be. You're just going to turn them however you want. You're going to have fun with this, and you're going to keep going. This is going to make a really, depending on the size that you use, it could be a really large quilt, or you could make it just a small one if you wanted to practice those triangles. Here are all my triangles that I have left to do. So yeah, I've got a little bit to go. Okay, so here we are at the sewing machine, and we're ready to start piecing. I'm going to take two of what I'm going to put together, a red one and a green one, just because I want to do that. And you're going to line up the one cut side. Doesn't matter which side, whatever side you want. And then, because they're triangles and we have to offset them, we're going to offset the top one. We're going to pull it up 1/4 of an inch, and I've got my little ruler here just to see. Not quite 1/4 of an inch. Okay, there we have it. It's lined up at the point underneath, and my point on top is right on my 1/4 inch line. This should be the only one that you have to line up like this at the start of every row, will be this one. Okay, so what you're going to do, you got it lined up, and you're going to sew that seam. If this is a new skill for you, keep in mind that you're going to have some that aren't going to be perfect. You can either rip those out and try again, or you can let them go and just keep stitching, you know, and perfect the next one down the line. All right, this is what it's going to look like when it comes out. It's going to look a little weird. The red is going to be my top row, so it's where my straight line is. My green is the next one, but it's offset, and it's going to have to be offset, and you should be able to keep the points on the triangles as we keep going. So I'm going to add my next red one, and when you line this up, first of all, line it up with your side. Okay, line it up exact. And then what you're going to do is where you see this point down here, you're going to offset it down to that point. Maybe not quite to that point. The second one, the second of the top color is going to be the hardest to get on there, because you're going to have to make sure everything's lined up. And this may be one that you end up not liking how it came out, and you're going to have to rip it out. Okay, I didn't take it the whole way down to that point, but up here where my green from before is there, that's where my point is, right at the tip of that green on that one. And then I'm going to sew my 1/4 of an inch. It's more important that you line this up than this. Okay, this is the point that you want to make sure is lined up. So we're going to sew that. And once you get used to doing these, and you've done 5 or 6 of them, and you think you can chain piece them, go ahead and chain piece them. There's no reason why you can't. I'm stopping after every one for the first couple so that I can show you how to line them up and what they'll look like. And if you want to stop after every 1 or 2 when you first get started, perfectly fine. You can see how they line up. And if you decide that it's not lined up the way you want, you can rip it out, readjust. Not a big deal. Okay, now if I went to the ironing board and did what I needed to do with this one, come on, there we go. It would lie flat. See, it's coming together right there at my point because I lined that, the point of my red up with the top of my green. Down here, I've got a little bit of extra, and I've got a little bit of extra. When I trim these, I can trim them off right along the green, and it's gonna go straight just the way I need it to. So we're going to add another green on this. Again, line it up exactly on the line. And then you're going to adjust. And this one you're going to adjust up. And it's going to come out so that you line up with the red point from the previous one over there. Not this point where you can see the right fabric. You're going to line it up with the tip of the back side of the fabric that you folded over for your seam allowance, because that's what you're doing. You're lining up a seam allowance. Okay, so you make sure your edge is straight. You line it up with the tip over there. And then you sew. And you're going to do your typical 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you may have some that don't come out quite as well as others, and I'll show you that in just a minute. I may be able to show you that with this one. Okay, so I lined it up. There's my point. No, it came out. See, it came out right at the point down here, because when you're stitching it, but with your 1/4 inch and you've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance, you're going to come right to the point. Might you possibly lose these points when you do your joining of your rows? Yeah. Are you learning a new skill? Yes, that's what's more important. As you can see on one that I did here before, this right here doesn't quite line up. It doesn't quite butt against each other. Here's another one down here. They're not quite lined up. They're lined up this way, but this one, probably I didn't have an accurate 1/4 inch right here. I may have done a scant on this side and a scant on this side, and the scant ended up to be about 1/8 inch. So yeah, will they come out? They can come out. But if they don't, you know, you're going to have another row attached to this, because once you get this row done, you're going to go ahead and attach the next row. Remember how we laid them out on the cutting mat over there? So when we put them together, you're going to line up your points as best you can. And they should be able to nest a little bit. You can wiggle your seam allowance in there and you can feel them nesting. Nest them up. If you want to pin, go ahead and pin. I hate pinning. However, what I will do, I use the little wonder clips. They don't hurt me if I stick myself. Come down to the next one. Line that up. Make sure your row is even. Line that up. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch these together for you so you can see what they look like in this little row. Darn, I can't stitch that way. Okay, we'll go this direction. Put my little wonder clip over there. Now I haven't trimmed these, so it's going to look a little odd, but you know, sometimes we don't trim. And that's just because I didn't go over and press them and trim them, because I'm anxious to get it done. I want to show you what it looks like. So there's no pressing and no trimming on this one for me. Would I trim these off? Yes. If you take these to your long arm quilter, she's going to give you a fuss about it, because those are going to be bulky seams and it's going to be hard for her machine or his machine. We do have some men long arm quilters out there. Okay. Whoops. All right, here we go. And we're going to press this open. And unfortunately, I've lost my points. Am I going to have a fuss about that? No. If I wanted to go back and make it perfect, I could. But you're going to lose them anyway, because your point is up here. All right, your joining point is not down here. If you wanted to make them so that you don't lose your points, you're just going to have to readjust it, and you're going to have to readjust as you put these together. your triangles will come out a little smaller. Me, I'm not that concerned about this. I'm going to keep going with this, and you'll see what mine looks like in March. Like I said, I'm not concerned about this. This is not a judged quilt. This is not something that somebody's paying me for. This is something that I'm doing to use up fabric, and like I said, it's going to get given away anyway. So I'm okay with this. And if you happen to notice when we were at the cutting board, the quilt that was behind me, that was January's. I've got it finished, and I'll go back over and show that to you right now so that you can see what it looks like completed. This is it. This was last month's quilt with the fat quarters, and then when we cut the fat quarters up, this is a big quilt. It is roughly 85 by 85, and I laid it out 9 by 9. And you can see 9 by 9, I need 81 squares. I only had 80. So what I did was, remember, I was using those little triangles. I made pinwheel block right here in the center. And I stuck my pinwheel block in the center. What I'm going to do is make more of those pinwheel blocks, and I'm going to put them down along the edges on this side and down along the edges on this side, because I need it a little bit wider than 85 inches. I've got a queen size bed, but I like to have a little bit more drop. And you know, if one of us decides we're going to pull the covers over because we need extra snuggling some night and it's a little extra chilly, yeah, I want to have that extra length on there. So I'm going to make extra pinwheel blocks. I have most of them made, and they'll be added to the sides. But this was January's fat quarter block, and this month you saw the triangles. So let me see your triangle quilts come together. I will have this one together in probably a couple of weeks, just in time for the March video. And I'd like you to tune in for March, because it's going to be something, we're going to use yardage again, but we're also going to use some scraps from what we've done and some practice, different techniques that we're going to do. Again, everything's going to come from your stash, and you're going to be using rulers that you already have. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next month.